Been trying to tell you guys, been trying to tell you we need to smarten up about who we're electing into the Senate and who we're electing into the House of Representatives. We really do. We really do. Because I'm telling you right now, we haven't cared about really who we're putting in there for so long to where we know damn well just by looking at what they're doing that they give no crap, zero craps about any of us. Okay? Nothing. They don't care about you at all. All right. They couldn't force the Ukraine and Israel and Taiwan aid down our throats by saying, "Hey, we're going to give you a little border security." So instead, they're like, we'll just take the border security out. We'll just try to fund a $95.3 billion foreign aid bill that's just going to give all this money to Ukraine, Israel, Taiwan, everybody except doing what's right for the American people. So we're going to get into it, guys, but welcome to Get Into the Facts. I'm your host, Andrew Curiel. Hope your week started off on a good note. Hope we're actually making some money doing our thing. But again, we're going to hop right into it. All right, guys, just make sure you smash that like button. Subscribe to that channel if you haven't already. We're going to keep moving. But we got this first thing here from CNBC. Senate advances $95 billion Ukraine-Israel funding bill faces uphill battle as budget talks loom. And some of the key points on this, and we're going to get into all the details. The Senate advanced a motion to begin debate on a $95 billion package to fund Ukraine, Israel, and Taiwan, which was a stripped down version of the Senate's failed $118 billion bill. All they did was take out the border funding, which it wasn't even a border security bill that they were passing. Okay. Even what they were trying to do, all they were doing is just trying to get through the asylum claims as quick as possible. That does not mean they're going to cut it down. Okay. Remember, we already did an episode on that. The bill basically was going to allow 5,000 people a day to come through the border without anything happening. Come on, guys. Like, really? But another key point, the vote allows debate to begin on the aid package days before the Senate's 2-week recess and with only a few weeks until government shutdown deadlines in March. Ukraine funding disagreements caused a near government shutdown in September, and senators have been trying to negotiate a compromise in the months since. Senators on Thursday advanced a foreign aid package for Ukraine, Israel, and Taiwan, garnering momentum for a funding package that has been a persistent thorn in the side of federal budget talks over the past few months. By a final tally of 67 to 32, senators voted to begin debate on a $95 billion aid package to fund Ukraine, Israel, Taiwan, and humanitarian aid in war-torn regions. This is a good first step, Senator Majority Leader Chuck Schumer said on the Senate floor following the vote, which he's out of his damn mind. And let's skip down here. If senators postpone talks for the 2-week recess, the aid package will likely get sidelined as budget negotiations take the front seat, giving looming government shutdown deadlines on March 1st and March 8th. The $95 billion bill was a stripped-down version of the Senate's $118 billion bipartisan funding package, which was released on Sunday. The initial, more expensive bill failed Wednesday in a 49-50 vote after days of Republican opposition to the border security provisions. Anticipating that the first vote would fail, Schumer devised a plan to force a vote on the new $95 billion version of the bill, this time subtracting the disputed border security elements. For all those Republicans who first said we want it with border and now say we want it without border, they got both options. And guys, right there, like, okay, you might have had some Republicans say that, some. Okay, but the majority of the America First Republicans that are in there, nobody was saying yes to this. Nobody. The only Republicans that were on board with this bipartisan bill are the neocons, these establishment politicians that are on both sides of the aisle. There's Democrat, Republican. It's basically the uniparty with all those guys. Okay, that is what the problem is, and we need to get them the hell out. They are not voting for what's right for the American people, okay, at all, guys. So let's get back here, though, because that just really irritates my soul, when I hear that. But Ukraine aid was the centerpiece of a particularly dramatic saga in September. House Republican hardliners tanked the budget deal in opposition to $6 billion of Ukraine aid. At the time, former House Speaker Kevin McCarthy agreed to remove the Ukraine funding and pass a short-term bill to keep the government running. Days later, McCarthy was ousted from his post. A lot more context with that. Since then, Congress has continued to keep the government's lights on with short-term stopgap budget measures called continuing resolutions passed hastily at several different points over the past year to avoid government shutdowns. House Speaker Speaker Mike Johnson has been adamant in his opinion of continuing resolutions. I think operating by CRs and shutting down the government is a dereliction of duty. I kind of agree with that. Still, deadlocked congressional disagreements have forced Johnson's hand. In January, he helped pass yet another continuing resolution to avoid a government shutdown, which now expires in early March. With roughly a month until that short-term budget dries up, passing the aid package for Ukraine, Israel, and Taiwan could leave lawmakers with one less thing to fight over and help clear a path toward a long-term budget. Ain't no way in hell they need to be fighting tooth and nail to not let this freaking funding bill go through. Okay, especially for Ukraine. We are giving them so much money, guys. Like we're paying for the private sector too. I think part of this thing, which I'll tell you guys some details here, we're giving $1.6 billion to Ukraine specifically for their private sector. But then when we have a national, well, not a national, but a state emergency in Hawaii where all of Maui burns down and all we can give our citizens of the country $700. Have you been to Hawaii? Do you know how expensive milk is in Hawaii, guys? Like, do you really I think these people in politics, they've had so much money to where they just think everybody's got this. $700. There you go. You can go get a hotel room for what? One day? Like, get out of here. Get out of here, guys. But Johnson's disdain for continuing resolutions might not be enough to outweigh his desire to torpedo the Senate's foreign aid bill. Thank you. Even if senators can pass the $95 billion bill, House Republicans have not confirmed which way they will swing on it. The House will review the Senate's product, Johnson's office said in a statement on Wednesday. The Speaker believes the House should review each issue individually on its merits. I completely agree with that. I don't understand why we got to keep shoveling everything in here when it comes to this. If you want foreign aid funding, it should not just be one big conglomerate. Split it up. Let me know how much you want for each spot. Okay? Don't wrap it up in one bill. We can vote on funding to Ukraine separately from funding to Israel or Taiwan. Okay? We can do that because nobody's going to vote for Ukraine. We've given over $150 billion already, and they want to give another $60 billion? Another $60 billion? Come on, guys. Come on, we got to be on the same page with this. There's no way we should be allowing this as citizens. These are our taxpayer dollars that are going to this outside of the United States. We have a bunch of problems here, guys. We have a bunch of problems here that we could use that money to help a lot more for the people that are actually funding the United States. I just don't understand it. I don't understand it. But let's go over to this next thing here where we got a little bit more of a breakdown from USA News about what's in the bill. Okay, about $60 billion in the bill would go to supporting Ukraine as it defends itself from the Russian invasion that began nearly 2 years ago. There's nearly $14 billion to allow Ukraine to rearm itself through the purchase of weapons and munitions, and another $15 billion for support services such as military training and intelligence sharing. The support also includes non-military assistance. About $8 billion would go to help Ukraine's government continue basic operations with a prohibition on money going towards pensions. Yeah, because just so you guys know, okay, real quick, just so you guys know, in that initial $100 and something billion we already gave them, some of that billion went to paying the pensions for people in government in Ukraine. Are you out of your mind? The pensions? No. Screw your pensions. Screw them. I'm sorry. Ukraine, I'm sorry. I'm not paying for elite government people in Ukraine's pensions. Guys, we need to pay attention. Please. This is why I started the podcast. There's too much bullshit that they're trying to shove down our throat and make us pay for. Our politicians are supposed to work for us. The only time they don't is when we, as the people, get too lazy and we just elect people that don't give no shits about us. Sorry for my French. You know what I mean? It doesn't add up, guys. It does not add up. I care about my fellow citizens before any foreign aid goes anywhere. We need to clean our stuff up before any more money goes anywhere else. I'm so sick of this. I'm so sick of it. Oh, guys, I'm telling you. All right, let's get back to the details here. All right. And There's about 1.6 billion to help Ukraine's private sector. About a third of the money allocated to supporting Ukraine actually will be spent replenishing the U.S. military with the weapons and equipment that are going to Ukraine, since we're giving them absolutely everything. Senate Republican leader Mitch McConnell has repeatedly emphasized that point, saying Friday that the money is about rebuilding the arsenal of democracy and demonstrating to our allies and adversaries alike that we're serious about exercising American strength. Yeah, which we shouldn't be. It's just war after war after war after war. Care about the United States citizens first, please. Thank you very much. There's also about 480 million to help Ukrainians displaced by the war. Okay, so we're giving Ukraine $480 million, guys, to help Ukrainians that are displaced by the war. But all we gave to people in Maui that got displaced, all their homes got burned down, except for the rich people on the edge of the coast, which I don't understand, but we're not going to get into that. But we gave them $700, but we're giving Ukraine, which is a small little country, guys. Look up the size of Ukraine. Look up the size of Ukraine, okay? We gave them more money than we would give our own citizens. Think about that. Think about it, guys. This is absolute insanity. There's no other way to look at it. There's no other way to look at it. And let's go back here. We'll keep reading down here. So what we got, go into the spending related to Israel. About 14.1 billion in the bill would go to support Israel and U.S. military operations in the region. About 4 billion would go to boost Israel's air defenses, with another 1.2 billion for Iron Beam, a laser weapon system designed to intercept and destroy missiles. There's also about 2.5 billion to support U.S. military operations in the region. Israel launched its war against Hamas after the militant group's unprecedented attack on October 7th, blah, 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 blah. The legislation contains also 9.2 billion in humanitarian assistance to provide food, water, shelter, and medical care to civilians in Gaza and the West Bank, Ukraine, and others caught in war zones around the world. Now, real quick, when we go and talk about this type of aid going to Gaza, I'm all for helping the people of Gaza, okay? The thing that I don't understand is who is getting the money to give to the people in Gaza. Hamas runs Gaza. Are we just giving $9.2 billion to the government of Gaza, which is Hamas? How would that money get to the people is my thing. You're just giving it to a terrorist organization that is controlling Gaza. I don't know, guys. You let me know, okay? I just want the facts, okay? All we're seeing here in this U.S. News article is the legislation contains $9.2 billion in humanitarian assistance. It doesn't say how it's going to get there to the people. It doesn't say how it's going to get there. So I don't know, guys. We'll see how it goes. Senator Chris Van Hollen, Democrat in Maryland, said Friday he's consulted with the leaders of international humanitarian organizations that have operated for decades in conflict zones around the world. Okay, I guess we're going to give it to some of those organizations. I don't think all the 9.2 billion is going to go there, but we'll see. And let's go down here. Spending related to China. More than $8 billion in the bill will go to support key partners in the Indo-Pacific and deter aggression by the Chinese government. The bill includes about $1.9 billion to replenish U.S. weapons provided to Taiwan and about $3.3 billion to build U.S.-made submarines in support of a security partnership with Australia and the United Kingdom. I'm actually okay with the Taiwan funding, but I just wish it was separate. Like, Taiwan funding separate, Israel funding separate, Ukraine funding separate. We're going to vote that thing down. We better, at least, better. And then some other provisions, guys. The bill includes about $400 million for a grant program that helps nonprofits and places of worship that makes security enhancements and protect them from hate crimes and blah, blah, blah. They just threw that in there to appease somebody, I think. But I'm telling you guys, this is it's just crazy what this funding is doing. We are doing all of this for all these other countries, and we are neglecting the people here. The prices are through the roof. Don't let them gaslight you. The economy is not doing good, okay? The prices are staying high. They're not coming down, because in order for them to come down, we'd have to have deflation, not just slowing down inflation to 2%. If we do that, all it's going to do is the prices that we're seeing are just going to go up 2% based on inflation year over year, instead of when it shot up 8% on us in 2022. You know what I mean? So Don't let them gaslight you when it comes to it. We have too many problems here to keep forking out more US dollars, keep printing more money, and devaluing the work that United States citizens bring in. Our work, our hard labor is what is funding this. And every time they keep printing more money, it keeps devaluing what we bring to the table. Okay? We can only do that so much before it's worth nothing. I mean, look at Venezuela. Venezuela was in a pretty similar situation. I think they were top 5 when it came to richest countries around the world in like the 1950s, 1960s. And it all went to shit. All went to shit, guys. Okay, so just keep that in mind when we take a look at this. But we got this little clip here as well from JD Vance. He's a senator from Ohio. Okay, and he's talking about one of the clauses in this foreign aid bill. Okay, which is crazy that this is even in here, and it needs to get shut down just for this, because it guarantees the funding through, I think, 2027, 2028 to all these countries. And if a president tries to cut the funding, which is what Donald Trump's running on, we're not going to support this Ukraine war anymore. We're going to end this war as soon as possible. At least that's what he's going to try to do. Okay. What this clause is going to do is it's going to handcuff him to where now if he tries to pause that funding or get rid of that funding because he wants to end the war, it's going to allow them to impeach the president. Okay, guys, let him break it down. And then we got this other article with Senator Rand Paul, who he's talking about it as well. All right. But it is absolutely crazy what they're trying to do here. So let's take a look.
Senator, poison pills, you had them in the NDAA about taking away President Trump's ability to make sure that NATO shifts from a protectorate to an actual alliance. Is there anything we're missing in just looking at, we got to get Ukraine funding to zero? Is the Republican Party, particularly Mitch McConnell, working with the administrative state to set traps for President Trump's second term?
Yes, Steve, and this is maybe the most important point, the thing I want your audience to most take away from what I'm saying here, Steve. In the Ukraine First funding bill, there is funding that is mandatory through 2026. Of course, if Trump wins, as I hope he will, he's going to be president on January of 2025. So what happens if Donald Trump decides to force Ukraine to go to the negotiating table? What if he releases some of the money, but not all of the money? What if he decides to do what a president has to do, which is conduct diplomacy? Steve, you heard it here first. They will impeach him under this legislation that may very well pass tonight out of the United States Senate. I cannot repeat this enough. The Washington Post has already reported that the purpose of the legislation is to control Donald Trump. So what they're trying to do is create a dynamic where if Trump follows his own campaign promises, Steve, they're going to say it's illegal and we have to impeach you. It's maybe reason number one why we've got to kill this legislation. We cannot pass a law now that ties Trump's hands in 2026 and gives Democrats an excuse to impeach him. But that's what way too many Republicans are talking about doing.
I mean, guys, that is just, it's insane that this is even a thing. Okay. It's absolutely crazy that they're even trying to do that. That means that they're not too sure if they're going to win this election. I don't even know if Joe Biden is going to stay alive in order for them to possibly win the election, but they are trying to put stopgaps and everything in there to stop President Trump from doing the things that he wants to do if he gets a second term. That goes against everything that this country stands for. Why the hell are they even trying to sneak that in? Okay. And I had to look for something about this. Thanks for JD Vance for putting it out there and actually looking at it and making sure everybody knows a little bit about it. But it was hard to find. All I had was this video with JD Vance talking about it, and this one article with Senator Paul talking about this situation. And this should be something that should never get put in. You should never be able to impeach a president for doing what the American people elected him to do. Nobody in the United States, when it comes to regular civilians, average people, nobody wants this foreign aid to Ukraine. Nobody wants this war going on in Ukraine anymore. They don't. Okay. They don't want Ukraine to get taken over either, but there's got to be an end to this. We are not going to just keep sending over hundreds of billions of dollars. It's coming from us, guys. It's coming from us at the end of the day. And I'm not happy with it. And nobody really should be happy with it in the United States. That's for sure. So let's take a look real quick before we end this. We got this from Fox News. Senator Paul says Ukraine aid package would tie the hands of future administrations. Several conservatives agree with Senator J.D. Vance's memo circulated early Monday that there's a hidden clause in the national security supplemental bill that he believes could be grounds to impeach former President Donald Trump from office if elected to office later this year. Vance sent a memo to GOP lawmakers highlighting that the bill would send billions of federal dollars to Ukraine, assures the delivery of funding through September 2025. Trump, however, has vowed to end the war in Ukraine within 24 hours of gaining office, which would also end funding. Vance's memo claimed that the supplemental bill represents an attempt by the foreign policy blob / deep state to stop President Trump from pursuing his desired policy, and if he does so anyways, to provide grounds to impeach him and undermine his administration, which is absolutely crazy. Like if the Republicans try to do something like that, going towards a possible Democratic president on the next term, I'd be feeling the same exact way. You cannot do that. You cannot do that. It's just you're trying to put in a new way to possibly impeach the president. That is absolutely crazy to me. But Senator Rand Paul, Republican of Kentucky, said he supported Vance's memo on Monday, arguing that Democrats are setting up for a possible Trump presidential win. They're locking in foreign aid that will even tie the hands of the next president, Paul told Fox News Digital in an interview. So I think it's a terrible idea. But also, if the next president were to try to have a different policy, you can see the Democrats again starting an impeachment. I think they're going to try to impeach him before he gains office now, and that's exactly what this is. Mark Paoletta, former Office of Management and Budget General Counsel during the Trump administration, told Fox News Digital in a statement that the clause in the bill text is an effort to inappropriately tie President Trump's hands in his next term by locking in Ukraine funding for multiple years. In a presidential election year, Congress should not be making long-term funding commitments, particularly in foreign policy, that will attempt to tie the hands of the next commander-in-chief, Paoletta said. President Trump had every right to pause Ukraine funding for about 60 days, given his concerns about corruption in Ukraine and how best to spend those funds, which is, exactly right, guys. He was completely in the right for that. Like, everyone was trying to say, oh, it was a quid pro quo. He was holding up the funding because he wanted them to go investigate Joe Biden. No, he was not. He was not. The phone calls came out. He was not. I'm telling you guys, it's just crazy how they keep trying to twist this. It's just crazy to me. So we need to wake up. The average person needs to just be more aware of what the hell's going on. This is a foreign aid package that I wouldn't even like because of the amount of money that is going to Ukraine already on top of the money we already sent. And then to know that they put a hidden clause in there that is going to tie the hands of the next president and possibly will give them the right to impeach him if he tries to stop the funding. That is just absolutely crazy to me. I didn't even think that was constitutional or even allowed. So this definitely needs to get shot down. We need to hope that the people that are in there stay strong and actually, get this to hit the floor and not get passed. Okay. But again, guys, I hope you like the topic. I hope you have a great rest of your day. Stay blessed out there. All right. But I'll see you on that next video.